This week, the AI world just broke every record imaginable. Seriously, welcome to this AI Cloud News Weekly Explainer, because I'm about to take you through what has arguably been the absolute most aggressive, high-stakes week in the entire history of artificial intelligence. We are officially way beyond the hype cycle now. What we're looking at is a full-blown, all-out global arms race. We are talking about billions, with a B, billions of dollars in raw infrastructure bets being finalized as we speak. We're seeing massive, frontier-level AI model drops from the absolute biggest tech giants on the planet. And, on top of all that, we are tracking a massive regulatory and industrial counterattack from Europe that could literally rewrite the rules of global tech. We're going to break down exactly what happened, why it matters to you, and who is actually winning this war right now. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The $30 billion space bet.
Okay, to really wrap our heads around the sheer financial scale of this AI infrastructure war, we have to look at numbers that are, well, astronomical. $920 million. That is what Google is paying SpaceX every single month. Let that sink in. Nearly $1 billion a month, starting this October and running all the way through June 2029. Totaled up, this is a $30 billion cloud computing agreement. Google is buying what they're calling bridge capacity. Basically, their Gemini enterprise platform is seeing such an insane, unexpected surge in customer demand that Google's own immense infrastructure literally cannot keep up. So they had to go to Elon Musk's aerospace firm just to bridge the gap.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the raw computing firepower required in this new era. Just think about these specs for a second. This deal gives Google access to roughly 110,000 NVIDIA GPUs. It consumes over 100 megawatts of power. To put that into perspective, that is enough electricity to power 75,000 homes simultaneously, just for compute. And it makes sense when you see that Alphabet's cloud backlog of unfulfilled contracts has nearly doubled to over $460 billion. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is this: SpaceX is no longer just launching rockets into orbit. Between this deal and a similar multi-billion-dollar setup they have with Anthropic, SpaceX has cemented itself as an undeniable heavyweight in the global AI infrastructure market.
Moving on to Section 2, Big Tech's Ultimate Tool Drop.
So, while these megacorps are out there buying up every single GPU on planet Earth, what's really fascinating right now is the sheer volume of frontier models actually hitting the battlefield for developers to use. Over at AWS, they just made OpenAI's GPT-5.5, GPT-5.4, and Codex generally available on Amazon Bedrock. They also just dropped Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.8. Boom. Then on Amazon SageMaker, they've deployed NVIDIA's Nematron 3 Ultra, which promises 5 times faster inference for agentic workloads, alongside Fundamental's new Nexus large tabular model. Meanwhile, Google Cloud isn't just leaning on SpaceX compute, they are aggressively rolling out their Gemini enterprise AI agents. It is a full-blown arms race to give developers the most powerful, highly specialized models, all on a single platform.
But here's the catch. Raw models aren't really enough if enterprises don't actually know how to use them, right? And that brings us to a massive strategic partnership announced this week between IBM and Google Cloud. IBM is officially unleashing an army of thousands of Google Cloud certified consultants and forward-deployed engineers. Their one specific mission: to push Google's Gemini enterprise agent platform into highly regulated, stubborn industries. Think banking, government, healthcare. They are building industry-specific AI agents directly on top of Google Cloud. The battle has completely moved from who has the smartest model to who has the boots on the ground to actually integrate this tech into clunky legacy enterprise systems.
Section 3. The rise of agentic apps.
Listen, that word, agents, that is the absolute key to everything happening right now. If you were paying any attention at all to Microsoft Build 2026 this week, you saw the narrative completely shift. We are officially done with the era of AI chatbots that just answer your questions. We've entered the era of AI agents executing complex tasks. Agentic AI refers to systems that don't just chat. They autonomously monitor real-time data. They reason over a shared organizational context, and they execute multi-step workflows. Microsoft's whole thesis at Build was that the bottleneck in AI is no longer how smart the model is, it's context. If every new AI agent starts from zero without understanding your specific business data, it's going to hallucinate or just fail. That's exactly why Microsoft is pushing platforms like Fabric IQ to give these agents a shared, governed understanding of how a business actually operates so they can do real work completely on their own.
And to make building these agents incredibly fast, Microsoft announced a new tool called Rayfin, built in partnership with Replit. Guys, this is a total game changer for developers. Here's how it works. You write a prompt using the Rayfin SDK or CLI. Rayfin then automatically generates a full enterprise-grade backend. I'm talking database, identity, authentication, access policies, all written out in code. And then it deploys directly to Microsoft Fabric. You literally go from a basic text prompt to a highly secure enterprise-grade production backend in hours instead of months. You don't even have to manage the infrastructure. The AI writes the code and Fabric ships it. It's wild.
Now, obviously, autonomous agents require some incredibly heavy-duty infrastructure so they don't just crash under the weight of it all. So, Microsoft also dropped Azure Horizon DB into public preview. This is a brand new PostgreSQL database engineered from the ground up specifically to handle the intense scale and sub-millisecond latency demands of AI applications. We're talking elastic storage up to 128 terabytes and massive scale out to over 3,000 vCores with integrated vector search baked right in. The message from big tech couldn't be louder. Build your agentic apps, and we will give you the hyperscale horsepower to run them.
Section 4. Europe strikes back. So while US tech giants and space companies are completely dominating the infrastructure and agentic software layers, let's pivot geographically for a second. The European Union just unveiled its technology sovereignty package, and honestly, this is the continent's multi-billion-dollar bid for digital survival. For the past decade, Europe's tech strategy has basically been one word: regulation. Think GDPR, the AI Act, the Digital Markets Act. But if you look at their new roadmap, that strategy is dramatically shifting. The EU has finally realized you can't just regulate technology, you actually have to build it. Over the next 5 to 7 years, their stated goal is to triple European data center capacity. They're pouring massive funding into domestic infrastructure because they recognize that relying entirely on non-European cloud providers is a massive strategic vulnerability in the age of AI.
This new sovereignty package rests on two major pillars. First up is the Cloud and AI Development Act, which aims to expand computing capacity and introduce strict sovereignty risk assessments for public sector cloud contracts. Then you have CHIPS Act 2. Now, the original CHIPS Act was all about building semiconductor factories. CHIPS Act 2, it's about creating domestic demand for those chips by pushing AI integration across European industries like automotive and defense. They are actively trying to create a closed-loop, self-reinforcing tech ecosystem right inside Europe's borders.
Which, of course, brings up the million-dollar question: what does this mean for global tech firms based outside the EU? Well, the proposed laws include a framework where foreign companies have to secure third-country recognition. If a US or UK cloud provider fails to meet these new sovereignty requirements, they could literally be completely blocked from lucrative European public sector markets. This is no longer just a debate about where user data is stored. It's about whether critical digital services can operate autonomously during geopolitical crises.
Section 5. Winners, losers, and you. All right, so we've covered SpaceX's massive computing windfall, the absolute explosion of new frontier models, the hard pivot to agents at Microsoft, and Europe's massive sovereignty play. So, what's the verdict? It's pretty clear. The winners right now are the ones securing raw compute at an unprecedented scale, like Google and SpaceX, and the platforms successfully transitioning developers to agentic AI, like Microsoft, AWS, and IBM. If you are building autonomous agents with shared organizational data, you are winning. The losers? Enterprises that are still stuck in endless go-nowhere pilot phases, playing around with basic chatbots, and regions that fail to aggressively build their own sovereign infrastructure. Listen, if you ignore this shift to agentic apps and massive compute scaling, you are going to be permanently left behind.
The landscape of artificial intelligence is quite literally being rewritten on a weekly, sometimes daily basis. Billions of dollars are flowing, the hardware is scaling to the size of actual cities, and software is becoming fully autonomous. Subscribe to AI Cloud News Weekly, because in the AI race, falling behind isn't an option. I'll catch you in the next explainer.